versus facts. Ayy, stats versus facts. Ayy, know where we at on the stats versus facts. Yeah, my boy, hella black. He back on the stats versus facts. And you might get smacked by the stats versus facts. Ayy. Whoa, welcome to Stats versus Facts, y'all. It's your boy Marsh here with the crew. What's going on, crew? What it do? What it do?
What's up? What's
Hello,
up?
hello.
Yes, sir. C-Mac. Welcome back.
Cello.
Cello, violin. And Greg.
Oh,
G- G-Reg, what's on the check? You beg. Don't beg for
Trying
the
to
money.
collect all the stimmies they're out here, sticking up people for stimmies.
Shimmy, shimmy for the stimmy.
Give me
Yes,
that
sir.
stimmy.
Yes, sir. Yo, welcome back to the show, people. It's Stats versus Facts. You know where we at, Sports Talk. And we got a good one for you today. A lot of drama going around sports this week. Boy, we're going to start here with the events that happened in that national championship game. Alabama roll tide. Beat Ohio State. Was not even close.
Spoilers.
Spoilers. Was not even close at all, boys. Woo, man. 52. Alabama dropped 52 of them boys to 24. Devontae Smith dropped 3 touchdowns. I mean, he had 3 touchdowns, 215 yards in the first half. He didn't even play in the second half because he got a index finger hurt. But
Got an owie.
Man,
Big
go
owie.
ahead.
you heard his little finger.
Came out with the claw. I was like, dude, I bet you can catch like at least 100 yards one-handed.
Yeah.
I was like, come on, at least try.
I mean, he was cooking. Najee Harris was cooking. Mac Jones was cooking. Mac Jones?
Who?
Mac Jones?
Who?
Mac Jones?
No, seriously, who? Oh.
Nah, Mac Jones was balling, man.
He's a forgotten guy, right? You'll never remember him.
For real. I mean, he put up the most yards in the national championship history of 464, 36 to 45, 5 touchdowns. He beat out Joe Burrow's record of last year. I mean, he did have that one fumble, but I mean, man, he was, other than that, damn near perfect.
It was like a video game.
It was. Justin Fields had 17 to 30, 394 yards and only 1 touchdown. But he was the leading rusher for them as well, 6 carries and 67 yards. I mean, it was Trevor Lawrence and then everybody else. We thought Justin Fields might be able to get up there in the draft. I mean, what are we thinking now? Do we think Mac Jones is really elevating himself to being a top pick? I mean, what do we think?
I don't think that. I think they'll just evaluate it as he was surrounded by an immense amount of talent. I still think Justin Fields will be in talk for the second quarterback taken. I think they're going to elevate Zach Wilson from BYU. They're going to start pointing out some throws that are Pat Mahomes-esque.
Yeah.
And they're going to start talking him up.
He's actually number 2 now. Fields is number 3.
Yeah.
On the quarterbacks being take. So we'll see. Woods is he said Zach Woods, right?
Zach Wilson from BYU.
Zach Wilson from BYU is number 4 on Mel Kiper's big board right now. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, after this performance, you'll be like, start looking at everything. Then that Ohio State bias will come into play about, I don't know if it's a system and he's just, a part of the systems more. But I think if you look at his size and some of the throws he's made and his overall just demeanor as a leader, I think he's still a good prospect, a really good prospect.
I mean, let's not forget that he did throw for 6 touchdowns against Clemson.
Yeah.
So he can be a guy that's kind of like a hit or miss.
Yeah.
Needs some development. So obviously if you draft him, I wouldn't start him right away. But definitely somebody could possibly use him. So we'll see who drafts him.
I mean, Jalen Hurts won the second round. So, I mean, and I think he's a better prospect than Jalen Hurts.
Right.
can see him
He
going
can
up
throw
there.
the ball a little bit better than Jalen Hurts can.
Yeah.
You're right. So we'll see. Maybe he
Yeah.
comes out. Maybe he comes out and he ends up being like a Dak Prescott type of player. Yeah, I could possibly see him end up like that.
Yeah.
So we will see. But
It's a shame he only got how many games did Ohio State play? Like 6 games?
8.
8. It's a shame they didn't get more games, more reps.
Yeah, it is. It is. COVID, unfortunately, and the Big Ten decided not to play early. Then they're like, "Oh, we will play," and then it just kind of
Yeah.
threw everything off. So
They're more cautious than other leagues and
Well, it's
other
between
places.
it's between them, the Pac-12, and the MAC. They
Yeah.
were, going that route. But DeVonte Smith, Devonte Smith,
Thinking about that Spurs.
he's elevated his draft stock tremendously. Now they have him possibly going number 3 to Miami Dolphins, who got that third pick via the Texans. So if he does go to the Dolphins, they're going to be looking very, very nice.
Yeah. Obviously the connection with Tua
Right.
playing with each other.
And he also could possibly make his way to number 2 for the Jets. But
They need everything, so
yeah, but the Jets are looking at Sewell or Sewell. So we'll see. But definitely he's going to be a good offensive weapon for somebody. If he does end up falling in the draft for whatever reason, because they're still unsure of his size, I think Philly should pick him up.
oh yeah, they're chomping at the bit, but then they're also scared about drafting another smaller guy.
True.
Possibly, Deshaun Jackson is kind of Jalen Rager is a little bit hurt for them.
Right.
And he's kind of a smaller guy.
Right. But they were all about CeeDee Lamb. We're gonna get CeeDee Lamb.
Oh yeah, we crushed their dreams. We're Cowboys fans. I saw the sadness and the hurt in their hearts, and I was just like, yes.
Yeah.
That's why I was definitely
saw
not.
it in our partner Swish's eyes. He was like, oh, I wanted that, man.
They were like, we're gonna get CD. That we're gonna get CD. Dallas is not gonna draft him. They're gonna draft a corner or a safety or something. Psych. Stupid.
How about you get the chance?
Crushed his dreams. Just crushed them.
That's right, man. That's right. But yo,
good times.
Nick Saban, 7 national championships overall. This is his 6th with Alabama. He passes Bear Bryant for the most all time. I mean, is he the greatest college coach of all time?
Football? Yeah, pops.
College football coach of all time, I should say.
Yeah, for sure. I think I saw something on Twitter. It was like every recruit that he's ever had they all have national championships at some point in their career. No one left without a national championship.
That's crazy.
And I was just like, whoa.
That's great. I mean, they've won 6 of the last 12 national championships in the last since 2009.
Yeah,
that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. I mean, Bama's just dominating. They're just a dominant program, man.
Yep. Got in there, established it, and just never let it. No one never left never took his foot out of the gas.
Yeah. And it's funny because these other championship that he has was when LSU.
Oh yeah.
Oklahoma. So it's pretty crazy, man. Really
You're sad. LSU's like, man, we miss Nick Saban. He had to go to the Dolphins.
Yeah, but I mean, hey, they got Mr. Go Tiger.
Go Tigers. Go Tigers. Go Tigers.
Go Tigers. Go Tigers. So
they may never win again. I think that was just a one-time thing. They can never find a quarterback, bro. It's weird.
Yeah, that is their problem. Their quarterback prospects are
they get a pretty good recruit every time. It never pounds out.
It never does. So tough. But I do want to go now into the NFL, fellas. We just had some good playoff games. They were, for the most part, they were all pretty exciting. No real, horrible blowouts. So we'll just go down the line. First game, Bills, Colts.
Ooh.
It was.
You called it, Marshall. You called everything that needed to happen for the Colts to win.
Yeah, definitely. They were in control of the game up until them opting to go for it on fourth down, got stopped instead of kicking a field goal in the second quarter. And then the Bills went down and scored and pretty much had the game in control after that. But, Colts battled back. Philip Rivers he had an okay game.
He had 302 touchdowns.
309 yards, 2 touchdowns, 27 to 46. So, I mean, if this is his last ever career NFL game, I mean, he tried. You know what I mean? He really, really tried.
It wasn't on him. I didn't think
No.
He gave him time. He gave him time and he dissected the Bills offense. When he got blitz, he reached the right receiver. I thought he did well.
Yeah, he did well. This game came down to me to coaching. Coaching was what lost this game for the Colts because there were a couple of questionable calls. Number one, you should have challenged the play where I believe it was what's his name for the Bills, number 15, caught a very controversial pass. Was it? I think it was Davis.
Oh yeah, Davis. I forgot what his name was.
No, not Davis. I can't think of his name now.
It's not Diggs, right?
No, it wasn't Diggs.
Not Beasley, not John Brown.
I think it was.
I think it was Davis, wasn't it?
Okay, then it might have been Davis. I was thinking because John Brown is 15, Davis is 13. So yeah, it was Davis. Davis caught that pass going out of bounds. He was out of bounds. I don't know why they didn't. There
was like 3 plays like that, right? He was on the sideline.
Yeah, there were 3 of them, but that one for sure should have challenged because that would have put the Bills into a fourth down situation. So that hurt. The dumb field goal when they didn't call it, and then there was one more play they messed up. I think it was like they did a couple.
Oh, they went for 2.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They went for 2. They went for 2 instead of.
I didn't understand that at all.
I didn't either. That was not smart.
I was pretty good in math. I don't remember that course. Like, remember that subject.
No, you're right. You're right. So, I mean, the Bills didn't play like they were as dominant as they have been.
Their defense was Swiss cheese, man.
Exactly, and that was my concern of them because early on in the season we saw this against a very good Tennessee Titans team who we'll get to a little bit later, and their defense just got shredded. So I'm just like, they need to tighten that up, especially moving forward if they are to make it to the conference championship game and possibly play the Chiefs or even this next week. Going into.
And then Josh Allen had that almost fumble.
Yep, definitely did. So I'm gonna stick. I'll stay here in the AFC, and we'll discuss this because who they're playing next was actually a surprise to me. But I guess Vegas called the odds correctly because I didn't think they were the favorite. The Ravens beat the Titans 20-13. I was actually shocked by this game. I really, really was. But, Vegas had them as, the favorites, which I was just like, but Tennessee won. It's in Tennessee. Why the hell? Lamar Jackson showed us why. I mean, the dude was sensational running the football. 16 carries for 136 yards, 1 touchdown, 17-24, 179 yards, throwing the ball, had 1 interception, no touchdowns, throwing the ball. He looked pretty good, at least from the running perspective of it.
Yeah, he had like 2 good massive plays. He looked a little shaky in the beginning. It looked like they were up 10 points real quick, Titans. It looked like it was going to kind of be a Titan snowball. Lamar looked kind of shaky, missed a couple throws, wasn't ready, but then he could just hit that burst and get through the line real quick and he's off.
Right. And then Marquise Brown had 7 receptions for 109 yards, even though he didn't score a touchdown, but that's still, pretty big. On the other side,
good job trying to give him the ball. It wasn't just like him just running straight down and Lamar just throw it up. They were doing different plays, and he was like coming out of the backfield, and I thought it was pretely well designed.
They were able to move the ball, which was good, and then definitely respond after going down early. 10-0. They took the lead and never looked back. So now on the other side, here's the difference, and this is why I was saying what I was saying last week when we were talking about MVP discussions. Derrick Henry, 18 carries for 40 yards. So they pretty much got to him and
bottom
shut
up.
and bottomed him up. Tannehill had 165 yards, 18 to 26, one touchdown, and one interception. He was very pedestrian, pretty much nothing. If they would have gotten Henry going, probably would have won this game. But Tannehill cannot lead a team, which is why Derrick Henry is so valuable. Because this stat line, if this would have been the way it was the whole season, the Titans would not have made the playoffs, and now they're sitting at home. That's why I said value Derrick Henry. He's at least 2 in the MVP voting, if not 3. But regardless of it, AJ Brown, 6 receptions, 83 yards, 1 touchdown.
What was the score?
It was 20-13.
So
It was close. It was a close game.
almost got it without Henry.
It was a close game. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, 1 touchdown though.
Corey Davis doesn't get hurt.
Say it again.
Corey Davis doesn't go out and get hurt.
That's true. Corey Davis doesn't get hurt, but at the same time, still you have weapons still, and you weren't able to do it. But I got to credit Baltimore's defense because their defense really stepped up. They were getting pressure. They were bottling Henry up. He wasn't going anywhere. Whereas
they took AJ Brown out in the second half. And
right.
That was it.
Right. And Lamar pretty much ran over Tennessee's defense like Derrick Henry did the prior year. So
yeah,
like payback, gotcha.
It was 10-10 at halftime, man. It's just
it was.
Ravens just had a little more.
Right. So, but if this would have been, I think if this would have been Deshaun Watson, obviously a better quarterback than Tannehill.
Yeah.
I think Tennessee would have won this game.
I just think they need more weapons. I think they need a more impact tight end or another receiver or something.
They do need another tight end. I mean, Corey Davis is good too, but you're right. They need another kind of like a slot receiver.
Well, they got AJ Brown runs. Well, he's outside. He runs outside, inside. Yeah.
But from that game, the other game, which was somewhat of a surprise, but I wasn't really surprised. Cleveland beat the Steelers 48-37. Now, the way it started was not. I was surprised. I did not think it was going to go that way. 28-0 in the first quarter.
Spot him 28 real quick. Like, all right, let me see if I can do some damage after this.
Man, they were balling, man. They really, really were.
Or whatever, the Steelers were doing the opposite of balling.
Yeah. Ben he was 47 of 68, threw the ball 68 times. He had 501 yards with 4 touchdowns, but also 4 interceptions. He had to throw the ball. Was not a good day for him at all. Juju had 13 receptions, 157 yards, 1 touchdown. All that talking, you need to shut the hell up because you just don't have that team to do anything. And really, most of his stats came a little bit later in the game. James Conner, 11 carries, 37 yards, 1 touchdown. That is where they lack. They don't have a running game.
They haven't been able to run the ball for a couple of weeks.
Yeah,
for most of the season, actually.
Yeah, I was about to say they had the worst, or almost the worst running attack in the NFL. I mean, it was just bad. It was really, really bad.
It's just a weird. I mean, the divisional. I mean, it gets divisional game, but the week before, they played and they barely won to get into the playoffs, and they were playing the second string, the Steelers. Mm-hmm. And then they were dealing with COVID. They couldn't practice. They didn't have their head coach. So you were like, okay, well then they barely beat their backups. They don't have any of their coaches. Some of their players are down with COVID. Like, Steelers should win this, and then they just
not at all
spot them 28. They still try to lose at the end. I mean, it was 35-23, and it was like a 4th and 1, and Tomlin decided to punt instead of go for it.
Mm-hmm. That was dumb.
Yeah. Say if they would have scored there, it'd been 30-35.
Right. No, and that's the thing about the Browns is that they get because they've gotten big leads before, but they seem to let them slip away. If you go up against the team like they're going up against next week in Kansas City, you can't do that. If you get up on them, you need to make sure you continue to score. Because they will come back. Yeah, they will come back at you. Chubb led them in rushing, 18 carries,
about that
76
Chubb?
yards. Kareem Hunt, 2 touchdowns, 8 carries, 48 yards. I mean, that tandem of those 2 running backs is tough. They'll definitely need that next week to run out the clock and run some clock against the Chiefs, especially if they get up on them. That's what's going to help. Baker didn't have a bad game either. 21 to 34, 263 yards, 3 touchdowns. He's playing better. He's playing better. I got to give props for props is
Yeah.
due.
He didn't throw any interceptions. That's a big thing.
Yeah, he's playing better, but continue to pound it. Continue to get those yards, rack up those yards. You got to make sure you do it. It's like when some teams get up, it's like they kind of take their foot off the gas. And I'm just like, I don't know if it's because they're afraid of guys getting hurt or whatever, but you got to keep pounding them.
I think it's just a natural reaction just to kind of let the foot off the gas and just like, oh, cruise. We'll just cruise to victory. It's already over.
Oh, you got to pound them. So
Pound it with the Chubb.
That's right. So next week, or actually this Sunday. So I got this right. Saturday, Ravens and Bills play, and then Sunday, Browns and Chiefs play as the 2-5 and then 1-6 matchup. We'll give you our predictions upon the next show. Now to the NFC. Switching gears. We'll start with the Rams Seahawks. Rams win that one 30-20. Jared Goff came out like a hero. Really, really did.
I don't know about all that, but
I gotta give it to him. I mean, he wouldn't expect to play. Wolford got hurt.
Yeah, he like whack-a-mole. Like he lost some neck inches. Like that dude was like, I thought his neck was like Mortal Kombat where they show you your neck gets smashed in. I'm like that. I think his spine's messed up.
That was bad.
I know that finisher.
Yeah.
Goff came off of surgery, wasn't expected to play, came in 9 and 19, 155 yards, 1 touchdown. I mean, he kind of, helped them stay in the game,
He was a body.
But still, you can't just, if you threw.
McVay didn't really want to play him.
I know he didn't, but still.
Any other quarterback is playing in that game but him.
I don't think they win.
I think Russell Wilson would play. I think Ben Biden would play. I think Mahomes would have played. I think any of the coaches that have actually liked that quarterback, they put him in, he plays. The fact that he didn't play him kind of speaks volumes. And there's reports coming out that Jared Goff is not happy for not starting the game.
Well, I mean, I can understand that, but he came in and did his thing. I mean, sometimes coaches want to protect their guys. I mean, guys want to play for sure, but you want to protect your franchise player. I mean, they paid him all that money. So even though it is a hand injury, and I understand where you're coming from, yeah, you can still probably play, but fresh off of having that surgery or whatever.
The worst contract in the NFL. Like McVay's waiting 2 years to get off that contract. There's 2 more years on it.
Ooh, is it? I think
it's 4 years total left, but there's after 2 years is an out.
No, I was saying I don't know if that's the worst contract. It's one of the worst. That Wentz one is pretty bad.
I mean, the last 2 seasons, what has Goff had? 22 last season he had 22 touchdowns and 16 interceptions, and then this season was 20 and 13.
Right, but I mean, at least he's played. Carson Wentz has been too injured to play, and then he got really bad this year. So I don't know.
It's a tie, bro. I mean, I don't want either. I don't really want either contract.
Yeah, I agree with you. Both of them are pretty bad. Cam Akers, 28 carries, 131 yards. He had a good game. Cup, 4 receptions, 78 yards. Wilson was very pedestrian. Ever since that hot start, he
fell off in the middle of the season when he was MVP candidate. After that, he just
fell off big time. 11 to 27, 174 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception. It's funny because our friend of the show, Damo, last year, a couple years ago, we had a debate, and he actually thought Russell Wilson was a better quarterback than Aaron Rodgers. And I was like, hell no, he's not better than Aaron Rodgers. And I said,
well, because Rodgers was coming off injuries, and then he was trending down, and Russell was kind of
but he was
ascending.
still putting up damn near the same numbers that Russell was, and that was down years for him. This was up years for Russell.
Yeah.
The thing about Russell was he was a little bit more mobile, but I said he never really had as many options as he did this year with Lockett, DK, possibly being a number one, but DK still got some work to do till he really ascends into being a top 5 wide receiver. Having said that, he did have 2 touchdowns, 5 receptions for 96 yards, but there's more he can you know arrive to or get to.
Yeah, he's gonna have to learn
Send
to
to.
get off the elite corners like a Ramsey.
Yeah, no, Ramsey was giving him trouble.
And Ramsey's different though than a lot of corners. He's able to get physical with you. He can run with you. He's long, athletic. It's just different. It's a hard matchup.
Right. No, he is. He's like the he like the PJ Tucker. He can get physical with you. But
shout out PJ. Go Horns.
PJ. Carson, 16 carries, 77 yards. I mean, Seattle's defense is not good.
No.
Either, but man, they laid an egg. They laid an egg.
We talked about it, right? Divisional game, tough matchup. Tough matchup. You have Ramsey and Donald, and they just play them good. And it's just they split their games they played during the season.
Right. The second one, Seattle won to win the division.
Yeah.
And then of course the Rams barely snuck into the playoffs and we're still able to win this one against Seattle. But it's interesting because at the same time, Damo has told me that, that divisional rivalry between the Rams and the Seahawks goes deep because he always seems like even if the Seahawks are better than the Rams always seem to have their number. Seahawks may be able to get them one time, but the Rams will at least win one. Whether they're better or worse than them, they will seem to give them trouble. And this time took them out of the playoffs.
Yeah, it usually happens in divisional, like in the division, right? No matter how they just get up, they know each other so well. They just get up to play each other, and it's just like anything can happen.
Yeah. So that was a tough one. But the Rams, 6 seed, another 6 seed, moving on. Buccaneers, the next game, Buccaneers against Washington. Buccaneers win that one 31-23. Again, I said they were going to have a tough time beating that Washington team. It was going to be a rough game. They pull it out. Brady, 22 of 40, 381 yards, 2 touchdowns. We had a Leonard Fournette sighting, 19 carries, 93 yards, 1 touchdown. Hopefully he's trending in the right direction at the right time for them. Then Mike
Rojo
Evans
went out with
an
injury.
Say it again.
Rojo went out with an injury, so he had to step up.
Oh yeah, Jones. Yep, he stepped up. Mike Evans, 6 receptions, 119 yards, and then of course Tom Brady hooked up with Antonio Brown for 36-yard TD, which was definitely big for his confidence. So he's been playing better. Now for Washington, Mr. Heineke.
Give him the bag. Throw all the bag to him.
Played his butt off. Man. Went to Old Dominion. He's 27 years old. I mean, he played well. He played well on such short notice, man.
At one point, you thought he broke his shoulder, and he was like in the locker room. He came out like a superhero. Like on the sidelines, they had to put the coat on. Like his players had to put the coat on for him. He couldn't even put it on himself. Yeah. He was dropping dimes. It was wild. I thought it was gonna be an upset, man.
Tough. For a little bit, yeah. 26 of 44, 306 yards, 1 touchdown, interception. Yeah, they just missed that 2-point conversion, and then after that, Tampa Bay kind of took the lead, and I mean, they added to the lead and never looked back. But props to Heineke. I mean, if you don't want to pay him and make him a backup, that's a hell of a backup to have.
Yeah,
a hell of a backup to have, especially because you don't know what Alex Smith is gonna be. But
how much longer he has.
And Brady gets the win. Right, Brady gets the win. Congrats. They're moving on, and the final NFC game, the Saints 21, the Bears 9. I mean, the Bears just looked so pedestrian on offense. I mean, they just
The
need a
Bears.
quarterback. They just need a quarterback because their defense is pretty solid. You're holding the Saints, who has a pretty good offensive, or a pretty good offensive team, to 21 points, and only 7 in the first half. I mean, this was a low scoring game.
As a Bears fan, you're
but-
just like, please, if we can hold them under 14 points, maybe we have a chance. Maybe we
Yep.
can fumble into a touchdown somehow.
Yep. But the Bears just need another weapon, and they need a quarterback. If they have that, we're looking at a team now that instead of going 8-8 or possibly 7-9, you're looking at maybe a 10 or 11 win team because their defense is there. Their defense is definitely there. So
Fix that O-line too.
on the flip side, fix that O-line as well. Yep. Thank you. They definitely need someone on the O-line. Drew Brees, 28 of 39, 265 yards, 2 touchdowns. Nothing really spectacular. Had a decent game. Kamara, 23 carries, 99 yards, 1 touchdown. I mean, he was catching passes too. Doing well. I think they had a touchdown pass to Michael Thomas as well. Welcome back from injury. By the way, that Jimmy Graham pass at the end of the game, the way he just caught that ball, I was like, yeah, y'all need to be throwing balls to him more.
I was like, I'm still here.
Yeah.
I'm still hanging on. I need some
Yep.
more team. I need a couple
Sure.
more teams to play with.
But that was nice. So yeah, the Saints won. Moving on, they're the number 2 seed. They will face the Buccaneers. We have the 40+ QB showdown. Breeze versus Brady, probably for the final time, because either one or both of them is going to retire after this season. Well, at least we think Breeze is.
Yeah.
That's going to be fun. That is definitely going to be a fun game. I mean, the Saints are
Only
beat
one old
twice this
legend
year.
gets to get out of there.
Yep. It's hard to beat a team 3 times. I just want to say that. I think this is the matchup the Saints didn't want to see. They wanted to see this matchup the least. It's going to be tough. It's going to be a tough game, but we'll discuss that. On the flip side, Rams against the Packers. That's going to be a tough one too. That can be a tough one, especially if they're able to get to Aaron Rodgers. But we'll discuss both of these games upon the next show. Fun stuff, man. Fun stuff.
Tune in.
Before we get off the NFL topic, tune in. Before we get off the NFL topic, y'all, Doug Peterson was fired from the Philadelphia Eagles after 4 seasons, took him to a Super Bowl, 3 playoff appearances, 2 division titles. I mean, damn, it came really suddenly, and now Carson Wentz has interest in staying with the team. C-Mac, I'm gonna pitch this one to you first. Do you think Peterson was fired or was wrongfully fired?
Wrongfully fired. That's a very
Prematurely fired.
premature. I rather would say I don't think it's premature. I think it wrongly fired is more leaning towards like maybe the right wording you would use for this, because sometimes it's better to do it before it gets worse and before things get like bad, because they're not trying to go into like a complete rebuilding stage, right? That's not what they're trying to do. They're trying to maybe try to nip it in the bud before it gets to that rebuilding stage, because they still have some pieces that they want to have and use for the future.
I think it's definitely a rebuilding stage. I definitely do. Before I go, G-Reg, your thoughts?
I just think like he made a comment about he's just getting tired of people telling him what to do. And I just think there was a disconnect between the owner and the future and him and the quarterback they possibly want to start and who they want to play. I'm not sure if they want to reinvest in Wentz and put him back in this. And that was the reason why, because I don't think Peterson really liked Wentz. I think, when you saw when he had Foles, he liked Foles more. And he kind of wanted to roll with Foles. And maybe he wanted to roll with Jalen Hurts more. But they wanted, because they invested so much money in Wentz. And they believe in him. Maybe they want to put him back. I just think there's a indifference that they couldn't just settle upon. And at that point, you need to let it go for the sake of this franchise.
It's kind of interesting because we had a lot of people calling play Hurts early on, and bench Wentz, and he kept playing Wentz. Now, whether that was his decision or the owners remains to be, we've seen, we don't know.
Yeah.
But I mean, he even pulled Hurts last game of the season, and sat him. When he ran in 2 touchdowns, they still had a chance to win that game in favor of the third string. So it's a tough call. He did win them a Super Bowl. I mean, he got them to the playoffs, 3 straight seasons. This is the first season that he didn't. So, yeah, you could say he gets a pass because of that Super Bowl. But if that continues getting worse next season, then you fire him. But I don't know if he should have necessarily gotten fired. Now, he'll obviously find another job. He's not a bad coach. He's a good coach.
He'll be an OC somewhere.
But I think he could also get another head coaching job. Seriously, you could hire him over there in New York, possibly, or if Houston gets a chance to get their hands on him. But personally, I don't necessarily think he should have been fired yet. But I'm not upset. I'm not completely upset that he did get fired. I mean, Philly wanted to go
because they're Eagles, baby. Who cares about them?
Maybe Eagles seem like they want to go in a new direction, rebuild, so you get rid of the coach. Plus, if he lost the locker room, that's another reason you got to get rid of him as well.
Yeah, that's true.
So, tough situation, really tough situation for Philly, but it had to happen. So,
hopefully they get worse and never in the playoffs again.
I'm cool for that.
You think it's a complete rebuilding stage that they're going for?
I think so. I mean, you got too many old guys, Deshaun Jackson, Alshon Jeffrey of the receiving. They doesn't look like they're going to bring back Ertz. You're going to stick with Goddard, I guess Rager, Scott, and Sanders maybe if you decide you want to run the ball. Will they play Hurts? Will they not? I don't know. I really don't know what Philly is going to do.
Who knows? They gotta choose between Wentz. They gotta either keep Wentz and get rid of Hurts or vice versa. I don't think you can keep them both on the roster at the same time.
You could continue. You could keep Hurts just as a insurance policy in case Wentz does go back, and you're like, okay, well, at least we know he can kind of play or he can play. So you can now when his contract comes up, then yeah, you're gonna have to figure that out. But I mean, this is Hurts' first year in the NFL. I mean, he's got 2 or 3 more years on his contract and his rookie contract. So we'll see if they decide to keep Wentz or if they trade him. If they trade him and bring in somebody else, then yeah, you might say, okay. If they bring in somebody else younger, you might be like, all right, I don't want, we can't have Hurts here. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
It's going to be interesting what they do.
Very interesting. But again, if the Eagles suck for all eternity, I'm okay. Dive, Eagles, dive.
Forever.
Without a doubt. Well, fellas, that is college football for the year. I mean, that's the NFL as right now. Oh, actually, you know what? That's not the NFL right now. How could I forget this? Cowboys hired Dan Quinn, former Atlanta Falcons head coach, as their defensive coordinator. I have mixed feelings about this. I do. Because
tell us about him. Tell us about your feelings, Marshall. Express them.
On the one hand, he was defensive coordinator in Seattle when they won that Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So it's not like he's incompetent for knowing what he's doing. But at the same time, I mean, he was in Atlanta, took them to the Super Bowl where they lost because the Patriots came back on them in the Super Bowl, and he's supposed to be a defensive coordinator. And then you're the head coach, and you're a part of one of the most idiotic plays in NFL history by not having your guys ready to field a kickoff and treat it as a punt because they had 6 people just back off the ball and let the Cowboys beat you. But if I'm the Cowboys, you just fired the former defensive coordinator of Atlanta, which was Nolan, and you bring in another Atlanta guy in. How do you think that's really going to go? So those are my questions about it. I mean, I'm not saying the man is a bad coordinator. He might do okay. He might be, obviously he can't do any worse than Nolan, right?
Yeah.
But and he's not going to be a head coach, as that's going to be McCarthy. But I'm just my mixed feelings because I don't know. It seems like his guys tend to have a lapse sometimes, and that's the last thing you need for the Cowboys because there's lapses all over the damn place. So I'm concerned about it, but we'll see. G-Rag, you have thoughts?
Yeah, it's interesting hire, right? He's also obviously known for being part of the Legion of Boom, one of the best defenses of all time. But we don't have Earl Thomas. We don't have those personnel, so
Nope.
it's a little interesting. It does tell you that we're gonna run a 4-3 scheme with a cover 3. So, and that's when we had the most success under Rob Marinelli, Nelly and Chris Richard. Marinara sauce and Chris Richard. That's when we kind of like had the best success with our defense. We were like 11th and 7th or something like that.
Right.
So I think we're going to go back to that. Obviously, we try to do a hybrid scheme, try to learn different terminology and schemes in between a COVID session. That didn't work at all. So we're going to go back to what we know. And hopefully, the history of Cowboys, decision making as coaches is not good.
At all.
You hope we got it right this time, right? I mean, we got it right with Kellen Moore. So.
Nah. I'm still anybody who was under Jason Garrett, you gotta go. You gotta go. You can keep us out of the playoffs. That's all I'm gonna say.
We're like one of the best offenses in the league.
When the fourth quarter comes around, we have one of the best fourth quarter offenses. The first 3 quarters, we're stat patterns. That's what the Cowboys are, stat patterns. And they make it look close. And then sometimes they'll get lucky and win games. But you need to be consistent and in the game throughout the whole game. Start like that. Start off hot. Don't come out in the last 10 minutes of the game and try to come back after being down 20-something points. It's not going to work. So if they come in this next season, and I see them put forth a full game where they're consistently scoring, not having stalled drives like they always freaking do, then I'll say, all right, he can stay. But at my point of view, man needs to go. I'm sorry. Because it's looking like he's going to be a freaking Jason Garrett. Like if they decide to...
Well, he'll be a head coach for the Cowboys for sure. We're grooming him just like we did Jason Garrett. And that's kind of the reason probably why he didn't go to Boise State to be the head coach. Is that we signed him long term, and then we told him, hey, after this goes wrong, possibly with Mike McCarthy, you'll be the next one up the line. The writing's kind of on the wall.
He's made me sad. I mean, I kind of knew this, but he just reminded me and just made me sad. I'm going to leave that there before I start crying.
So we're going to re-sign Dak, score 35 points a game, hopefully give up 28. We'll be back in the playoffs next year. Cowboys in 4.
Cowboys in 4.
If we don't draft anybody for the secondary, that's not going to happen.
Possibly. We'll see. I mean, like I said, Cowboys, out of the last 11 draft picks, 7 of them have been Pro Bowlers. So I trust them to will add a Pro Bowl talent to the roster somehow.
True. But
whether that's a corner, whether that's a linebacker, whether that's a D-line.
We always tend to find, Cowboys always tend to find linebackers, offensive or defensive, but I need somebody in that secondary.
We'll draft a corner. We'll draft a linebacker. We'll draft a D tackle, a big boy that stops the run, and we'll draft a safety. Those are the picks we will draft in the draft. It just depends on what round.
Well, hopefully we draft somebody that's gonna help because geez, that secondary is just bad. I'm sorry. Um, but interesting, guys. I was I ran across this. So, um, Jared Veldier, right? Just played. He's a
You went to Jared?
You went to Jared?
You went to Jared, bro?
To Jared?
he was. It's weird. He wasn't on the Colts 52 man or 53 man roster, 53 man roster. And he was on the practice squad. Well, they brought him up to play in their playoff game. Colts lost. Now he's going to go and sign with the Packers and play with them in this playoff game. He's the first player to be able to sign with two teams and play for two teams in the playoff. And he's eligible to play with them as well. Like I said, he was on the practice squad for the Colts, wasn't officially signed on their team.
Who's this?
Jared Velhier.
Yeah.
He played for the Packers last year, and they started him in last year's NFC divisional playoff win over the Seahawks.
He's a lineman, right?
Yeah, he's a lineman, and they lured him out of retirement, and I guess he went and played with the Colts. And he'll also immediately be eligible to play this week because he's already through all the COVID protocols with the Colts and everything. So I mean, that's really interesting, guys. That's
paychecks.
That's really, really interesting. So
I think I want to say that I just saw Devontae Freeman doing the same thing. He was on a roster. The running back
from the Giants.
I don't know where he's at now, but I saw somewhere where he's like trading teams. I was like, what?
Well, I know he got injured and he was playing with the Giants.
I could just be hallucinating. You know, it happens to me sometimes.
I hadn't heard anything about that, but this is the first one I saw.
That's pretty cool, though. Just have another chance at winning.
Yeah.
Get some more money.
Yeah.
Oh, he retired, yeah. And so they signed him on the 8th. Jared Veldier.
Yeah. It's really, really weird. But hey, I guess that's how you do it, right?
Hey, man, when one door closes, you open the other one, right?
Yeah. Really.
Salute.
Salute, man. Salute.
Get that bag.
That's right.
And that ring, hopefully.
That is right.
You went to Jared?
You went to Jared, bro?
You went to Jared.
You went to Jared, bro.
So, what do you guys say that we hop into some NBA?
Hop into your bag, man. Let's go.
So, COVID cases have been rising in the NBA. It's not looking good. You got a lot of players out. I mean,
you know what that means.
You know, they had to meet between the NBA and the Players Union, and they came up with stricter guidelines. So, no more having a family member or a friend visit them in the hotels.
House from Houston.
Yep. No more going to player designated restaurants. They're trying to no more handshakes, high fives at the end of games, talking without masks, even high fiving each other on the court during free throws. I mean, during timeouts, they're probably going to spread. Some stuff I can understand, but some stuff I'm just like, man, it's just a part of the game.
When you're on the road, you can't leave your hotel,
and you can't leave the hotel either, right? Except for team activities, it's going to be really crazy and restrictive. But let's look at it in this perspective. If unfortunately for the players, if you want to get paid, this is what you got to do. You have to go by the guidelines because NBA is not going to stop. You know, they got to make their money. And if you want to make your money, you got to adhere by our guidelines. So that's what it's looking like. They can complain, feel like this is a prison, this, that, and the other. But I mean, it's your job. And unfortunately, this is what it's looking like. So, but I will say this, as far as trying to restrict guys from talking at the end of games and, you know, high-fiving on free throws and stuff. That's a bit much to me. I mean, you're already in the game. You're already guarding each other. Like you're touching the same ball.
No new friends, Marshall. No new friends.
I mean, if
We're
you
not
don't,
friends anymore.
if if you trying to say don't high five at the end of games and be buddy buddy with guys, I mean, NBA players, some players are used to that. You know what I mean? Like not
Yeah.
everybody's buddy buddy with everybody. So I understand, but with your own teammates, high fiving them on the free throw line, you can't do that anymore, and they're gonna start weirdly finding people. That's tough. I mean, if you're gonna say that, you might as not play the games because this is a part of the game. This is part of the
What
game.
Kyrie's doing.
Say it again.
That's what Kyrie's doing.
Yeah, Kyrie's like, yo, I'm not even showing. You got KD's balling out, and Kyrie's just like, I'm good.
He's just disenfranchised with what happened on the Capitol. He's just like, I'm not playing for these people.
Yeah.
They told me to shut up and dribble. Well, I'm just gonna take my ball and leave.
He's gonna start his own league.
Yeah, man. He tried to. He didn't want to come back. Remember, he was one of the guys that said, "I don't want to be in the bubble. I don't want to do this. I think they're trying to take away our power of social justice and kind of carry the message out and try to avoid the message."
Yeah, I remember him saying that. And for Kyrie, it's just like if you're fine with not getting paid, and so be it. I mean, he's made money. You can try making his own league, doing other things, but if he wants to get paid, this is what he has to adhere to. So, I mean, there's not much else I can say on the subject.
Yeah, I just as a Spurs fan would wish we'd take a month off so we can get Derek White back and then we can start up again, and that would be everything would be great. And I would be all for his, suspension for a month.
Yeah, they're just trying to get everything in before the Olympics, which is kind of, they're crunching it, which kind of sucks. At this point, I'm just like, man, screw the Olympics. I mean, I know people want to go and play and have fun, but shoot, just send the guys over that don't make the playoffs. Just send them over. Send a few of those guys over to play.
It's gonna be weird with the finals and whatnot, trying to squish the finals in before that, and then still get the team to practice together. Not like they need it, but like
Yeah. I mean, granted, Coach Pop is the USA national basketball. He's the head coach.
Yeah.
For the U.S. national team. And just say the Spurs were to make the finals, he'd have 2 days to get over to Tokyo. You know what I mean? And plus, he's gonna have to probably quarantine and all. I mean, it's just a mess. They're trying to crunch all this stuff in. It's a mess. So I think they shouldn't have gone with 72 games. I know they have to make their money. 72 was a lot. I would have been more in favor for 60, maybe even 50. Shorten the season. I mean, if they make 2 expansion teams, they'll make up their money. You know what I mean?
Could have done a 50-game season and then brought back the bubble.
Yeah.
They just have too many contracts, too many things going on. They're just never gonna give up money on the table.
They're not. So this is what we have.
Just play day by day, week by week, trying to make it as you go.
That's right. But I do want to look into the. Before I say
browser history.
Uh-oh.
That's private.
Uh-oh.
Incognito, baby.
Incognito.
Tip of the hat.
I know you're watching, Feds. You're never gonna get me.
We give a shout out to some of the young guns that have stepped up in absence of the starters. I mean, Tyrese Maxey went the hell off for Philly.
Maxey, baby.
Dropped
Kentucky. He's always dropped Kentucky guards.
Yep. He's getting some minutes now. Looking pretty good, man. LaMelo Ball has stepped up. He's getting, even though the Hornets really haven't had too many problems themselves.
6-man, baby.
Yeah. And he's the youngest player to get a triple-double and off the bench. I mean, I think we knew it was coming.
Shout out LeVar, Father of the Year.
Big baller brand.
Respect. Yeah. Triple B, baby.
About it. Don't pretend.
Back in the building. Free Jello.
Yep. But I do want to ask you guys, this question too, as we go over the standings. Top 8 in the East, top 8 in the West, and I want you guys to tell me who are our pretenders right now and who's for real. So, right now, Eastern Conference, we got Boston up top at 7-3. They had to cancel a couple of games. Philly at 8-4, and Milwaukee at 7-4. Indiana at 6-4. They're in action tonight against the Warriors. Then we got Orlando and Charlotte at 6-5, Brooklyn at 6-6, and Atlanta at 5-5. After the hot start, the Knicks are 5-6 in ninth place, and Cleveland is 5-7 right now. Two teams that we
My
were
Knicks
wondering.
people texted me and said they're running the zone against them. And they can't shoot. They don't have shooters to get out of it. And they're trapping Julius Randle. So it's gonna be a long, good be a problem.
He's still balling though. But so out of these 8 teams I mentioned on the East, who is for real and who is pretending out of the Magic, Charlotte, and Atlanta?
Go Christoph Porzingis.
Oh man, I'm gonna have to say the Magic. That's the Heat spot right there. The Heat should be right there instead of the Magic. That's where I'm going right now.
They're sitting at 4-5. They're in 10th place right now.
Yeah, I think they're just tired, coming straight off that bubble run to the finals. No excuses though, but I think that's
You
what
just
it
gave
is.
one.
I'm just saying that's what they would say, but I'm like, you can't buy that. Like everybody else is ready. The Lakers are in for 9-3, so
yeah. I mean, hey, Jimmy Butler is kind of playing. He's kind of not playing. I mean, to me, it goes with their roster. I think their roster is not equipped.
I missed that Jay Crowder, baby.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. Well, how about yourself, Greg? Who do you think is pretending?
My pretender.
Oh, wait, before you do that, Chris, who is for real?
Okay, psych.
Oh, who's for real? The Hornets, baby.
Ooh.
Balling brand.
Yeah.
Hey, I don't think they're gonna be a crazy year, but like that 7th, 6th spot, it's looking like they're gonna get that for sure.
You're just betting on Gordon Hayward's health.
Yeah, they sure did. He turned back into freaking Utah Gordon Hayward. Yeah. Like, this is my team. Like, I'm confident. He's looking good. He is looking really, really.
I doubted him, so shall be wrong.
I doubted him too. We thought he was washed.
Yeah. He looked washed.
Yeah, but playing behind, I would call them superior player. Well, okay, let me not say that. Playing behind at least better players at this particular point, and Tatum, Brown,
just trying to fit in too many scores, too many people, ball dominant players. You had Tatum, Brown, Kemba Walker, him, all one ball. Just trying to. He can pass and he can spot up and shoot, but he's not able to unleash his full repertoire.
Yeah, and even Marcus Smart was hitting shots too. So you turned Gordon Hayward into like a Kevin Love, honestly.
Yeah.
When he's like, yo, I can still lead a team. So, yo, he's looking.
Let's see how long his health lasts, though. He's kind of cursed.
Yeah, we will see. Greg, go ahead. Pretender and who's for real?
Obviously, the Magic, because they lost Markelle Fultz now. I think they'll start to slip a little. And for realsies, man. Man, for realsies, I want to say the 76ers will win the East.
Oh,
okay.
I want to say that.
Okay.
They were kind of my prediction earlier in the prediction.
Okay. I like
just worried about the green spot, even though he dropped 9 threes today.
He was 9-21. I don't want to hear it. Congrats. You hit 9 threes. Took you.
I wish they would be able to get a Gary Trent Jr. or Josh Hart or someone like that in that position. Then I would definitely say.
Right. 9-20. Please. And yeah, and it was in overtime too. Get out of here. But Joel Embiid is balling. He is. It's between him and Jokic for the best center in the league for sure. And both those guys are early MVP candidates, even though the Nuggets are playing really bad right
Yeah.
now. But yeah, Joel is hooping. My who's for real? I think Charlotte is for real. Um, they're hooping right now. They seem to be heading in the right direction with Hayward. Rozier is putting up decent numbers. Ball is, playing well. PJ Washington is giving them a little bit. They seem to kind of be where Memphis was last year, kind of on that uptick right now. So I like the way they're playing. My pretender is actually going to be Atlanta. They got some injuries. Gallinari, Bogdanovich. You don't have them shooters, you're not going to be able to do anything, in my humble opinion. Even though
And then
Trey,
John Collins calling Trey Young a ball hog
right, that
in a
doesn't help.
meeting.
Doesn't help
Wow.
either. Which means John Collins, come to San Antonio, buddy. Come to San Antonio. We would definitely be glad to have you here. Y'all can take Pirtle, you know what I'm saying? Y'all can have Rudy Gay. I like Rudy Gay, but don't
And
take
cut us a break on the max. We don't want to pay you the max, bro. Just take 20, 22, 23.
Yeah, exactly.
We don't need to pay you 30 million, 25, 28 million, whatever your max is.
Exactly. So I mean, John Collins, come to San Antonio, bro. But yeah, I think Atlanta they're gonna start slipping, man. They're gonna start slipping.
Yeah, they got chemistry issues. They got injuries. There's some issues over there.
Yeah, not good. Before I get off the Eastern Conference, team that is the most disappointing has got to be Washington. Thomas Bryant got a ACL injury, so he's out for the year. That's tough. Beal has been hooping his butt off. I mean, I feel really bad for Bradley Beal because it's going to be another one of those seasons. He hooped off last year, and I mean, they're just bad.
Is this his final year, Washington? No, I'm saying like, did they trade him? Like, does he demand?
Oh, do they trade him?
Does he demand a trade?
He might. He might, especially if Westbrook is in and out and it's not really working. Yeah, he might demand a trade. I don't know where you would send him because Washington's going to want a haul for him unless you just be funny if Washington was like, oh, we'll take Harden off your hands and you can have y'all can have that'll be crazy.
Westbrook, I'm back, baby.
John, right? So I don't know. Random question for you guys. Do you trade if you are Washington, or if you're, let me put this, if you are Dallas, do you trade Hardaway and Porzingis for Bradley Beal and Bertans? Because I might make that trade. Or if not Bertans, then I don't know who else Washington had. I would say Bryant, but he's hurt now.
I would get just anybody plus Bradley Beal. Just give me Bradley Beal. I don't trust Porzingis' health. Give me Bradley Beal.
But I'm saying you're probably going to have to get somebody, big for Beal. And I mean, if you send him to Dallas to play along with Luka, they're going to want a Porzingis. I mean, obviously you're not going to get Luka.
They could have anybody. I don't give a shit.
Okay.
Like the whole team. I don't get.
I mean, I would do that. I would say I would, give up Hardaway and I'd give up Porzingis to have Bradley Beal paired with Luka and that squad that they have around them. That would.
Then you look way more attractive in free agency.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, Beal, Luka, someone's gonna come join.
Yeah. So I like that, but yeah, Washington is just they're bad, man. They're bad. Yep. All right, to the West we go. Free Bradley Beal. To the West we go. Lakers at 9-3, number 1. Utah number 2 at 7-4, tied with the Clippers and Phoenix at 3-4 at 7-4. Portland at 6-4, tied with Golden State at 6-4. Golden State's in action right now, so they may move up or down. Dallas at 7 at 5-4, and then the Spurs moved that to 6-5 after defeating Thunder today. It was a big win, big win. Thunder.
Shout out my
under
boy
them at
Al
5-5.
Horford missing 2 threes. They could have
Right.
helped win the game. Thank you for doing a solid.
Shout out to a lot of them for missing threes. They missed a lot. They missed a lot. But in that 1 through 8, who is real and who's a pretender? I'm gonna give you 3 teams. Utah,
Don't say the Spurs, please.
Phoenix, and Dallas.
Man, Porzingis is going to come back, so they're going to go higher.
I'll go first and say Utah is pretending right now.
Oh yeah.
7-4. That's a pretty good start for them, but I don't think it's going to be able to manage at that second spot. But it depends on how real the Phoenix Suns are. Are they playing like gold or are they fake fool's gold right now? I see it as gold, and that's my real team right now, the Phoenix Suns. Doing really good. Technically, Jazz, Clippers, and Suns are all tied for second, right?
Right.
They're all tied for second. So we'll see if the Jazz are pretending and they continue and they start going on a losing streak, because they're on a 3-game win streak right now, and then the Suns are they lost their last game. So if this 3-game win streak is for real, then I'm wrong. The Jazz should be number 2.
Well, the Jazz have beaten the Clippers so far.
Mhm.
They have, and the Suns actually beat them in the game that they played, the only game that they had played this year. But then the Jazz, like I said, beat the Clippers. Jazz have yet to play the Lakers. I
Mhm.
think, did they play? I don't think they've even played the Mavericks yet either.
No.
So
They lost to the Knicks, though. That's the one.
they did. They did.
And the
And they,
Timberwolves.
right, but they did beat the Trailblazers. They got destroyed by the Nets. They beat the Bucks. So I mean, the Jazz still have some tough games to play. Obviously, I think if they play the Spurs a second time too, I think the Spurs will give them a better game.
Yeah.
That was just a debacle. But yeah, I'm not gonna. I'm gonna say the Jazz are not gonna stay at number 2. I think the Clippers or Phoenix will overtake them. The team that I see pretending right now, yeah, is the Jazz. The team that's for real, that the Phoenix. Phoenix is a top 3 team, top 3 or 4 team. I really, really believe that. I believe they're a top 3 or 4 team. It's not like they need a 30-point per game score in Devin Booker. He can have 20 points and they can still win because they have a team around him. They have a pretty solid team around him.
Yeah. Very good defensive team.
Yeah. And yeah, they are a good defensive team, even though I know
Special
they lost.
addition of Chris Paul. Definitely a really good addition.
That's
Right,
the only thing you're betting on, right? If you're thinking that the pretender is that Chris Paul gets hurt.
Right. Now they did lose to the Wizards. It happens. They did lose to the Pistons. That's a game they shouldn't have lost.
Uh-oh. Those are 2 bad ones.
Man, right. And then early on, they lost a weird one to the Kings. So
Kings are fighters. They're not, total trash.
right, the Kings are fighting, but yeah. Now, a team I want to highlight, Golden State is starting to play well, even though Curry was a horrific shooting night the other night. He was like, 2 for 11 or some crap like that, or 1 for 10 for the 3. I mean, he's terrible. They've had some guys that are able to step up. Damian Lee's hitting big shots for them. Wiseman is playing pretty solid. Green is getting his assists. Oubre and Wiggins are at least chipping in, 14 to 17 or something like that, or 10 to 17. So, and defensively, they're able to hold on. So from the start of the season to now, they're not doing too bad.
Yeah, they dusted the rust off. They've gotten Draymond back. They're getting confident. They're playing more loose.
Pascal's another good one too, off the bench.
Trying to build that chemistry with one another.
Right.
One of the main reasons, though, I voted against them making the playoffs was because I don't believe Curry's going to be healthy enough throughout the whole year.
Right. And I said with Green coming back, he's gonna take off some of that burden off of him. And if they get one more shooter that can consistently hit, I think he'll be okay. He'll be okay. The team that is also surprising to me that they're not doing well is Denver. I mean, Denver is struggling. I mean, they're 5-6, which is better than when they started, but I would have expected them to probably be 6-4, 7-3, something along those lines, up in about the 3 spot. But they're having a tough time. Not having Michael Porter Jr. hurts. I mean, it's cool having Will Barton back, but it's a better tandem when you have him and MPJ. They still don't really play Bol that much. I mean, they played him tonight. He was only in there for 16 minutes, had 5 points. I mean, I think he could do more. So
I think they got chemistry issues. They got defensive liabilities.
mm-hmm.
They got things to work out.
Right. But so far, I mean, for what it's worth, not a bad NBA season. I mean, the Lakers clearly have stepped out, and they look really, really good.
Like another 7 games, right? It'll be 18 games. 7's for some of them.
Yeah.
7 or 8.
Yep. The Lakers have 12 games under their belt. Everybody else, 11, 10.
I just say that because at 18 games, that's 1/4 of the season done.
Right. Mm-hmm. So we'll check there again and see what we're looking like. Definitely see what we're looking like. So, but now, guys, I wanted, before we wrap up the show, I want to kind of go a little deep into this particular topic, which I'm calling Under the Scope. Calling Under the Scope.
Ooh. Scope alert. No scope.
Investigate.
Under the Scope today, we have the sports town of Houston. What the hell is going on in Houston? Because there are 3 major franchises, being the Astros, the Rockets, and the Texans, are all under some type of scrutiny. The Astros from the cheating scandal, the Rockets with James Harden not being happy, and that small ball weird thing that they were going through. And then now with the Texans trading DeAndre Hopkins, Bill O'Brien screwing them, and now Deshaun Watson not happy because, I mean, they didn't want to give Eric Bieniemy chance, an interview. And he just, according to Deshaun Watson, he said they don't get it. You even had Andre Johnson come out and defend Deshaun Watson. And a quote, "If I'm a Deshaun Watson, I will stand my ground. The Texas organization is known for wasting players' careers. Since Jack Easterby has walked into the building, nothing good has happened in or for the organization. And for some reason, someone can't seem to see what's going on. Pathetic." I mean, and DeAndre Hopkins came out and said, "When that man Dre talks, you should listen." So, I mean, what the hell is going on in Houston, man? Like, we got to dive in, because it just seems like even though the Astros did well, they're still hated. You know what I mean? People still don't like the Astros. So, I mean, give me your thoughts.
Anytime you see a disorganized franchise, you've got to look at the top. And it starts with the ownership. And I think the ownership of all 3 of those teams are questionable. Obviously, you have the McNair family. Bob McNair, he just passed away recently. He was famous for saying, "I don't want the inmates to run the asylum, right? Run the prison," when they were talking about the national anthem and all that stuff going on. He's famously known for not being on the side of players and not really taking issue with the social injustice and the pleas of the players. And also just not building a winner. Fertitta, he's the owner of the Houston Rockets, Same thing, kind of a cheapskate, kind of just all about money, doesn't really care about building a winner, has issues with he famously fired Mori for the Hong Kong tweet. And he was basically online with saying that we're not in the business. We're in the business of making money, not, involving ourselves in politics. And so a lot of players just want to be a part of a winning franchise and want to be respected. And if you don't give those to the players, if you don't listen to the players, you don't build a winner around them, I mean, it's going to be it's just going to be a horrible situation.
See, Matt.
Yeah, it's tough. I don't know too much about the owners and stuff like that. I know a little bit about just mostly the Fertitta situation with the reporter and the comments and stuff like that. But I always say it's like most of the power comes from the consumer and the employees rather than the employer, because without the employees and the consumer, the employer has nothing. So like, I mean, if the players aren't happy, then their voices will be heard through the Players Association and people not playing. Like Harden, he's like taking time off, taking his own issues, not playing.
He looks chubby and out of shape.
Yeah, I mean, he's still dropping buckets, but he's not taking his.
Harden was already fit.
It's showing. So a lot of the inner issues that haven't normally come to light are slowly coming to light now, and the city of Houston looks like they're going through some short turmoil, or might be long term. You never know.
Yeah. Easiest way for me to say it is, and this is excluding the Astros, because it's not like their players have a problem with it. It's just everybody has a problem with them. But as far as disgruntled stars of Harden and really more of Deshaun Watson, because their cases are different. In the case of Deshaun Watson, it's kind of like they're just telling them shut up and dribble. I mean, that's really what it is. And now I saw that Houston is going to give Bieniemy an interview in hopes to make Deshaun Watson happy. Not necessarily that they're going to hire them, but they're going to give him an interview. Deshaun Watson wants to go and play in Miami, where they have both a African American GM and head coach. And it's just, he doesn't think that the organization gets it. And being, socially aware as Deshaun Watson is, if he doesn't think that an organization gets it, obviously he's going to be like, yo, I'm trying to leave. I mean, you get rid of his, really his best friend and DeAndre Hopkins, both of them went to Clemson together.
And the coach makes that comment about baby mamas.
Yeah, absolutely. And then Bill O'Brien pretty much leaves you with nothing. You know what I mean? It's bad. It's bad in Houston. I mean, Harden doesn't want to be there because their franchise is all over the damn place. Is it on Harden? I mean, he wanted to have Westbrook there. He wanted to have, certain, guys come and play with
the franchise catered to him. He basically got whatever he wanted to do.
The franchise did cater to him, but at the same time, they kind of screwed themselves by trying to do that little small ball thing. And now you have a situation of where, Houston's probably going to be in the gutter for a little bit, more than likely. So
depends on what happens if they trade Harden, what they get back. They got Christian Wood already in place.
That's Christian Wood is good, but
they got John Wall. They can still trade him for somebody. They got some wiggle room.
But Houston's going to be in the gutter as far as I mean, their opportunity to win a championship is gone. They don't have an opportunity to win a championship. at least for the in the foreseeable future.
But they had a good run, and I think as a franchise, you would take that. Because you could
True.
say that you're going to be in the 5th seed, 4th seed, be possibly a contender, 1 or 2 moves out of being a contender. I think
I
most
mean,
franchises would take that.
shoots, they were number 1 seed, 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So, they were there. They just they weren't able to get over the hump, and now possibly might not even be in the playoffs for a little bit. So we'll see. As far as the Astros go, they're just going to be hated.
I mean, when you choose to make that decision to cheat and get caught, you get it. You saw what happened with the Patriots.
Yeah.
Your legacy, your whole organization's tainted. It's a big deal, you screwed over a lot of people out of rewards, a lot of people out of money, a lot of people out of, championships, possibly.
The one issue I have with that, though, or not issue, but like
everybody's doing it.
The one thing is with baseball, it's murky when it comes to cheating because there's like a long history of whether it's that or performance enhancing drugs.
Right.
And people forget so fast about all of the players that did it and got caught and won. And a lot of people were mad about Barry Bonds, but Alex Rodriguez did it and he won World Series. And that kind of got swept under the rug after like 2 years. So
right.
Yeah, this one might take a little bit longer, but I feel like it's gonna get swept under the rug so fast, man.
I'm pro steroids, so just for the record.
Yeah.
Let them juice. Let's get super freaks in here. Drop some 500 feet yards. Home runs.
I will say that Houston only won 1 World Series. Like they won multiple World Series, but they got there twice. In the case of the Patriots, they got there after the scandal. 2 or 3 more times and won. Two more after the second cheating scandal, the Deflategate. So, they still, if Houston gets in there and wins more championships, you know what I mean, and it's proven that they didn't cheat, there'll be some people like, oh, well, there's a possibility they cheated, but if they go in there, you win back to back, and you prove like we were just better than you, then everybody will forget. But because they haven't been back yet, and it's been they haven't won. They won in 2018, I believe. And it's been a couple of years. If they don't get back or they start to stink, then people are always going to remember, oh yeah, Houston, you were yada yada yada. You guys need to go through this rough patch for a while. So they'll possibly say that. But I agree with you, Chris. There have been guys that have done performance enhancing drugs, and
there's a big scandal right now about pitchers scuffing up the ball and using pine tar substance likes to increase the rotation of the ball.
Right.
Yeah. Astros won in 2017. So
it's 2017, excuse me. So it's been
4 years ago almost.
Yeah, almost 4 years ago. So yeah, they need to get back and win another World Series, or else if they go the other way, that one's always going to be a question. The one that they won will always be a question. For the Patriots, they won.
Do you think they'll be less hated though? Because the Patriots are hated more because they keep winning, and that kind of like brings up the cheating scandal. Like if the Houston Astros were just to lose for a while and then rebuild and come back, I think people would just forget.
They did lose in 2019 in the World Series, so they went back after. So
right, they did, but they just haven't won, and that's the thing. I think it's worse for me, Greg, if a team gets there, right, you win, and then if you get back and lose, and then you don't go back again after that, that looks worse to me than if you win, you lose for maybe 2 or 3 years, but then you get back and win, proven, because by that time, some guys will have left, things will have moved around, you're not going to have the same team. And then if you go back and win again, and you're consistently in that picture, I think people are still going to hate you, but they're going to respect you because you did win. For the Astros, you got to win another one in the next at least 2 to 3 years, and you can't fall off, because the Patriots were still consistently good. They didn't fall off until Brady left.
Yeah.
So,
but they're always still looked as cheaters. No matter how many more they win, they're always going to be like, they cheated somehow.
That's fair, but not for all of them though. For there's probably 2 or
Because we
at
just
least
had
2.
that one scandal where they were caught in the box, right, recording practices or something
Right.
with the Bengals.
Right. They had that one. And there's the Deflate Gate.
I think it's just irrational fanhood. You know, as a fan, you're just gonna be like, they're always cheaters. They're always, no
Yeah.
matter what they do, they're always cheaters. They did something to cheat to win.
Pretty much. So that's how in baseball, from my understanding, it's really worse. It's really, really worse. So
I think they lucked out not having COVID, not having fans, having to hear the booing and all that stuff.
absolutely. But
Person.
definitely right now I would have to say that Houston, you got a big problem in all your sports team. Well, at least those 3. I don't know about the soccer. I don't know about the Dynamo, or Houston FC. I forget what their soccer team is particularly
Not
called.
the
right
soccer
now.
team too. It all starts with having right ownership. I mean, if you have type ownership, they hire the right people. They're socially aware. They do, the due diligence. They pay attention to detail.
Yep.
And you don't have a good franchise, you can see around the leagues of the teams that are just never going to be good. Just never, because they have bad ownership. They have ownership that puts their family in charge of things. They make bad hires constantly. I mean, it just starts from the top.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like them Cowboys. Anyway, that's gonna be the show, y'all.
Cowboys in 4.
Yo, we appreciate
40 burger.
everybody tuning in and listening. We're getting back on that Anchor and Spotify coming next week, so y'all just be ready for that. I'll make an announcement, so y'all listen for that. Follow us on YouTube right now on the Stats vs. Facts Sports Talk. If you ain't got that VS, you're listening to what, C-Mac?
BS?
No BS.
.fm.
.fm.
Beat me, man.
Yeah, got him. And follow us on the Twitter and IG at SVF Sports Talk for sure, man, for sure. Also go follow Spurs versus everybody. We putting in work. We everywhere. We own it. So fellas, fellas, another great show. It was fun as usual. Definitely. We'll be back for our NFL divisional playoff predictions coming up. Should have some soccer talk coming up in the next one as well. Should have Damo. If not both Damo and Devo, at least one of them will be on with us. And then some fighting.
Cutman's Corner.
Cutman's Corner will be back soon, as we have some big events coming on. McGregor, Poirier, Adesanya's fighting in a couple of months. So some great sports
Chris
things.
is another YouTube star.
Say it again.
Chris fighting another YouTube star.
Oh yeah.
Line him up.
Yeah.
Who's next?
Chris versus Justin Jackson Jr.
I played as your brother.
It's like I've been there, done that.
Without a doubt, man.
Game
But
over.
for that man, G Reg, and for that man, C Mac, it's been your boy Marsh, and we will catch y'all next time on that. Stats versus facts. Ayy, stats versus facts. Ayy, know where we at on the stats versus facts. Yeah, my boy, hella black. He on the stats versus facts. And you might get smacked by the stats versus facts. Ayy. Catch y'all next time.